Hello, I'm here, top of Cherished, Primark, Bold Street End on this very busy, noisy Thursday afternoon. There's a van waiting to get through, but I've waited a while because it seems to be moving, so I'll make a video. Yesterday I spoke about Liverpool being a city of heartlands. The heartlands are like veins that run through long-standing proud Scouse communities, pumping rich Scouse blood into those neighbourhoods. You take that away, no more rich Scouse blood flowing through them long-standing proud Scouse communities, then their Scouseness begins to ebb away, eventually disappearing, like what's happened with other communities across the country. It loses its unique Scouse character, traditions and cultural identity. That's what we see happening now in Kensington and Fairfield, Lawrence Road, let's say. They're just like 3 examples: Lawrence Road, Prescott Road, Shield Road, right? They are 3 heartlands that have now been replaced by universalism in the sense of universal Scousers, right? That's what's happened to those communities. Also, what's happening along the heartlands, where it's County Road, Breck Road, West Derby Road, wherever. Businesses along those heartlands are also now being replaced and monopolised by universal Scousers, right? The neighbouring streets, roads, they've been more and more occupied by universal Scousers. And the end result is obvious, right? The end result is there for all to see in Kensington and Fairfield, Lawrence Road. And if you go one further, places like London, Leicester, Birmingham. So the Scouse heartlands are important to keep. Without the heartlands, those communities lose their unique Scouse character and everything else that comes with it. Universal Scousers, they will replace our Scouse character, traditions and cultural identity with universalism that's got nothing to do with Liverpool on a local level. Universal Scousers, different cultures, different nationalities, are changing long-standing proud Scouse communities. That's what happens. The heartlands right across Liverpool are important. It doesn't matter where they are. Like I've said, Warbreck, Allerton Road, Park Road, it can be anywhere, right? They are essential in keeping the rich Scouse blood flowing through those long-standing proud Scouse communities. Once that rich Scouse blood stops flowing through those Scouse communities, then it loses. Those communities then lose their unique Scouse character, as I've said before. And what's been there for generations is then replaced by something completely different. Universalism in the form of universal Scousers, right? That's why we must oppose further cultural change. We must oppose what is happening here in our city. We must oppose long-standing proud Scouse communities changing, like Kensington and Fairfield, Lawrence Road, and we now see along major heartlands like West Derby Road, County Road, Breck Road, Scouse schools, should I say, Scouse kids who become a minority, dancing to the tune. New arrivals, universal Scousers are brought with them, dancing to a different culture a million miles away from our Scouse one. But this is what is happening, and this is why I've said before, it's important, imperative even, for the Scouse heartlands like West Derby Road, County Road, Breck Road, to maintain their Scouse dominance, because if they don't, like I said, all the businesses then become monopolised, as they are, by universal Scousers. The streets, more houses, more streets, become occupied with more and more universal Scousers, and so on and so on. So the Heartlands are crucial, ladies and gentlemen, in keeping that rich Scouse blood flowing through long-standing proud Scouse communities. Without the Heartlands, those communities wither away. They lose their Scouseness. And we see this happening in Kensington and Fairfield, Lawrence Road. We now see it happening along West Derby Road, County Road, Breck Road, and many other, like I said, long-standing proud Scouse communities. We can see what is happening. We know what's happening, and it needs opposing. Ian Byrne, MP for West Derby, refugees welcome. You know what's happening. You can see what's going on. You must see it along West Derby Road where your surgery is. You must see it there, what is happening. That Scouse Heartland is losing its unique Scouse character, status, identity, as more and more new arrivals move into that community, and rich Scouse blood starts just dripping in small amounts till eventually it will lose all its Scouseness. That's the outcome, that's the end result, right? That is the end result of this. I hope I've articulated that okay. But the Scouse Heartlands, like I said, they're important. Look along West Derby Road, County Road, Breck Road. All the businesses that are along there, they are now being replaced, monopolised by universal Scousers. Our Scouse economy is falling more and more into the hands of our adversaries, right? So them three Heartlands, just three examples, West Derby Road, Breck Road, County Road, you can see what is happening there. The change there is worrying, because once the Heartlands change, all the neighbouring streets do, all the businesses do, and before you know it, the area no longer has rich Scouse blood being pumped into it, but a universalism in the form of universal Scousers. It loses its unique Scouseness, its character, identity, everything. It goes. I know the good people of Liverpool understand what Jones is saying, because they are watching what is happening now to their communities live as I speak. They know what is happening. That's why we've got to oppose this. Come election time, find a candidate reliable, credible, opposed to further cultural change, and give them your vote. I don't know what's happening here behind me. There's some film crew, so I'll call time now. Remember, say no to cultural change, yes to Scouse pride. Shout it out loud, Scouse and proud. Okay, thank you. Hello, we're still here, top of Church Street, Primark Bold Street end on this very busy, noisy Thursday afternoon. It really is a busy, noisy day. Once again, since walking round to finishing my last video, cultural change is all around. Our cherished city centre is indeed losing its unique Scouse character, traditions and cultural identity. There is no ifs or buts about it, right? One only, as I've said, needs to walk around our cherished city centre to see what is happening. There is a change underway, without a doubt. And if this change is not stopped long term, then our city will never be the same ever again. It will be culturally changed, occupied by universal Scousers, no connection, no roots, no history, no heritage to our city, right? That's that's what is happening, I'm afraid, ladies and gentlemen. It's not me having to go at anyone. I'm just speaking the awful truth. What is happening, right? The amount now coming into our city is such that I believe within 5 years, not 10, the change is going to be dramatic, right? Without a doubt. There is no doubt in my mind, right? That's why this needs opposing, ladies and gentlemen. We need to oppose what is happening. And I've said, do it at election time. Find a candidate, reliable, credible, opposed to bear the cultural change, and give them your vote. Because, like I've said, short of that, these politicians, they won't be coming to our city's aid, right? They will leave our city to the mercy of cultural change. We are now watching what is happening to long-standing proud Scouse communities. Kensington and Fairfield, Lawrence Road, right? Like other communities decades ago watched this same transformation now change their unique communities into different places, right? 50 plus years ago, probably longer, right? They watched their cities being transformed into different places. We now are watching ours. Like I've said, the beauty of this, if that's the right word, we're in possession, metaphorically speaking, of a crystal ball. Those communities weren't. The crystal ball is telling us what's on the way, how it unfolds, and the end result. We would be mad, literally mad, as a great man once said, to ignore the writing on the wall, right? So we're blessed in that sense. Or the communities weren't, right? They weren't blessed with being in possession, metaphorically speaking, of a crystal ball. We are. We're in possession, metaphorically speaking. Sorry if I repeat myself, but I need to get me words right and explain what I'm trying to say here. It is metaphorically speaking, but all the same, we're in possession of a crystal ball. The crystal ball is telling us what's on the way, how it unfolds, and the end result. We would be mad, literally mad, to ignore the writing on the wall. Like I've said, those other communities weren't blessed with that privilege, right? They didn't know how it was going to unfold and the end result. They just watched their communities change and change, expected their politicians, their MPs, councillors to oppose it. They didn't. Fobbed them off like we're getting fobbed off now. Ian Bain, Dan Cobb, and all the rest of them, right? And so before you knew it, their unique communities were changed forever, never ever to see their former glory ever again. We can't let this happen here in our glorious city. Our city belongs to our children, grandchildren, and all those amazing Scousers yet to be born. Doesn't belong to no one else. Sorry for being selfish, but that's the way it is. Boot on the other foot, new rivals would think the same. Of course they would. Like I've said, does anyone really believe the culture that doesn't want to assimilate wants to dominate? They care about our children, grandchildren's future. You have to be very naive if you believe that, ladies and gentlemen. You need to give your head a wobble if you do. Right. Gonna go now, so it's getting really busy. But remember, say no to cultural change. Yes to Scouse pride. Shout it out loud, Scouse and proud. Okay, thank you.